So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on every day. But so as to not get too overwhelmed with the pace of things, with I think what we're all experiencing as this torrent of bad news, I do think it's possible to recognize that not everything sort of fits in the same bucket. Not all of these things are the same, right? So in one category, I would put, bad outcomes, right? Plane crashes, bird flu jumping species and sparking new outbreaks. American farmers having been told by the government that if they install new fencing and dig a new well and upgrade their electrical, the government will subsidize that, will reimburse them for doing that. Now that those American farmers have spent that money, the Trump administration has decided they're not, in fact, paying them for it. So now those farmers are potentially going to go bankrupt, right? The shuttering of programs that prevent the spread of multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, programs that stop famines, programs that test cancer drugs and all the rest. All of these things are bad outcomes. I mean, I would even say like Charles Kushner, that's a bad outcome, right? Having a convicted felon as the ambassador to one of our most important allies, that itself is bad. Rod Blagojevich, that's bad. Pardoning politicians for profound and proven corruption, that's just a bad outcome on its face. So that's one category. Say there's a second category, which is self-dealing and abuse of office. We're going to talk this hour about some of the amazing benefits that Donald Trump's top campaign donor, Elon Musk, is getting for himself and his companies now that Trump has let him take over running the government. There's things like, the inherently worthless Trump meme coin on which he's made tens of millions of dollars already, thanks to the suckers who are willing to pay for it, right? There's all that. Like there's the bad outcomes. There's the self-dealing and corruption. I'd say those are the first two categories. But the thing that we're going to focus on tonight, and that I think, in a good sense, I think a lot of the country is starting to focus on right now, is a different category. It's not just a bad outcome. It's not just self-dealing and corruption. It's a third category that poses the risk of what I would call autocratic breakthrough. That's like the political science term for it. It's not just something turning out bad. It's not just you doing things in a way that is corrupt or for your own self rather than for the people you're supposed to be serving. It is breaking systems so that you can't be stopped. It's when they do things with their power that aren't just bad, that aren't just corrupt or self-dealing. They are designed to change the government and the country and the system so they can never be removed from power. So opposition to them becomes impossible or illegal or dangerous. So it doesn't matter what we want or what we don't want. It doesn't matter what we intend to vote for or vote against. They're staying anyway, and they'll do what they want regardless of how the rest of the country feels about it. That's autocratic breakthrough. And in that category, there's stuff to watch. The attacks on the media are not important because you have to like the media. They're important because without the media, the public's not going to know things the government doesn't want them to know. The attacks on the inspectors general and the oversight agencies, they're not necessarily important because you have to love the inspectors general and the oversight agencies. But again, it's a categorical change. In taking out the inspectors general and the oversight agencies, these guys are protecting themselves from being investigated or being stopped by those watchdogs, but they're also preventing the public from knowing about whatever malfeasance may be going on. And in that category, the autocratic breakthrough category, the changing the system so we can't be removed from office, so that we can act without regard for what the American people want or say or do. In that category, the big kahuna is the attack on the courts. You may have seen the headline tonight. We had a federal judge block the big cuts they just imposed on scientific and medical research. The amount of scientific and medical research funding and the way that funding is structured is set up by law. And to cut it unilaterally is to violate that law. So those scientific and medical research cuts have been blocked tonight by a federal judge. We've also had a federal judge block the resign or else threats against millions of federal workers that are trying to induce them into quitting their jobs. That has been blocked by a federal judge. We've had a federal judge block the Elon Musk improper access to the Treasury's payment system. That has been blocked by a federal judge. We've had a federal judge block their efforts to send 3 Venezuelan men to Guantanamo. We had a federal judge block the release of the names of FBI agents who worked on January 6th cases. We've had 3 different judges block the effort to overturn birthright citizenship, the American principle enshrined in the Constitution that says if you're born here, you're American. We have had 2 federal judges now block the government funding halt. We have had a federal judge block the shutdown of USAID and the order that everybody at USAID has to be fired or put on leave. We've had judges stop thing after thing after thing that they've been trying to do. And all of those losses in court, I mean, we're only 3 weeks into the administration. How have they lost in court this many times already? Well, it's because they're doing a lot of things all at once that seem, at least at first glance, to be quite illegal. And so judges are stopping them from doing these things as fast as lawsuits can be filed. But the important thing here is the response to these court orders, because in, for example, the funding halt case, where the judges are saying you cannot halt these funds have to go ahead. In the USAID case, where the judge says you cannot shut USAID and put the whole staff on leave, you have to reverse that. In those cases already, we have had the new administration lose in court. And we have also had the new administration appear to defy those court orders. In both cases, the plaintiffs have gone back to court in those cases saying, Your Honor, your ruling is not being obeyed. They're still doing what you ordered them not to do. And that has bad consequences, true, right? Directly. There's a reason these cases were brought in the first place, which is you can't do this illegal thing. And also, if you do this thing, it causes harm. So the fact that they're defying the court orders directly has bad consequences. USAID still being shut has bad consequences. Those funding halts still have bad consequences. But categorically, the most important thing here is their willingness to defy the courts, because that is the ultimate autocratic breakthrough. A declaration that the rule of law does not apply to them, that it cannot constrain anything they want to do. That is worse than any one outcome, right? That is a forever decision. That means nothing anyone else wants and no court ever rules will ever again have any impact on what our government wants to do to us. That is a category of its own. That is the key to autocratic breakthrough. And that is where we find ourselves on the precipice looking over the edge tonight.